I'm here to bring you my 3 tips for this winter. This is for the Rosendale Wellbeing Weekend. We've been asked to all bring our 3 tips for winter. So I've been having a think, and these are going to be my 3. I'm Heather from ENERGYBODi, and this is, you can see, this is the studio where we teach all our classes. I've just noticed that I've still got Eric up, so if you can see this sort of like ghostly thing, that is actually Eric the skeleton that comes with us when we're doing all our anatomy as well. So welcome. So my 3 tips are going to be, number 1 is sunlight. And actually, in terms of sunlight, as we come into winter, my tip is actually the sunlight alarm clock. So I have, you can either do, there's 2 ways you can do this. I've now got an app on my phone. There are various ones out there. Mine, I think, is just called the sunlight alarm clock. You can also buy something called, there's various different ones, but the one I know is called Lumie, Lumie. And basically what it is you set your alarm clock. So if you wanted to wake at 7, and then you choose how you want to graduate, what time you want that to graduate and come in at. So you can leave it's best to leave your phone plugged in for charge, so it doesn't use your battery up. Or the Lumie clock, I'll explain that in a minute. And it gradually starts very dim and it gets brighter and brighter. It has like a picture of a sunset on the app, does mine. And it gets brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter until you've got this really bright light shining. You can also have different music. I just have some bird song, which also on the app starts really, really quietly and again gets very gently. And it's a very soothing way to bring in the day. The Lumie light clock, or you can buy lots of different models, is the same thing. You can set it and it graduates. The Lumie light clock is actually, if you suffer from SAD, I'd actually get the full Lumie alarm clock because the light is so much brighter. I've recommended these lots over at least a decade, and at various points in my life when I was really needing an uplift and a boost and feeling very down, these work really, really well, because by the time they get to full brightness, the whole room is really bright. But you know that horrible feeling when it starts to come into winter and it's like you can't see, and then you switch on the light and it's all too much. And basically what this does is improve your mood and graduates that light in. But also, if you can get into a regular pattern, so if you're waking up all the time, not only do you feel in a much better mood because you've been gradually woke, it is also about keeping that consistency between your serotonin and your melatonin. So your serotonin is stimulated by increased by sunlight. Melatonin is produced when you're sleeping, and it's balancing up your sleep cycles is really, really important for a lot of your mental health and well-being, emotional well-being. So that's my tip number 1. If you've got any questions, I will put links to these if people want them. So the number 2 tip is going to be, it's a theme of the sunlight, but is your vitamin D. So vitamin D is D1, D2, D3. They're mainly talking about vitamin D3 is the essential one. I'll also not talk about it, but I would recommend K2 be taken alongside with D3 to be able your body to absorb that in your bones, particularly is the K2 to help the D3 go into your bones. But most people know D3 as something for helping and strengthening your bones, along with things, making sure you've got your oils, oily fish and things like that. And there has been lots of interest, I'm sure many of you know, with vitamin D now revolving around sort of how that can help with COVID. So from everything I've been reading, what's important is not just to take a vitamin D supplement, which is essential, and knowing what the dosage is, and the dosage could vary, is if possible, get yourself a vitamin D test. You can do this through your GP. There used to be ones online privately. I've sometimes seen some of those varying, but there are ones available you can get privately done, but just ask your GP for a vitamin D level test. Getting your vitamin D levels up to the required amount is what's crucial. So it doesn't matter what you're being prescribed unless you can get, and getting these, I've talked to quite a few nutritionists now and dietitians, and actually getting that level up is actually trickier or more difficult, should say, harder than people believe. This whole idea of overdosing on vitamin D has now not been, as far as I'm researching, is things. So if you're going through your GP, get that checked out. We need to all get our vitamin D levels up there. It's absolutely vital for your immune system. Um, it is also been proven to help with things like, cold, flu, viruses, but also what goes in the digest. So Crohn's disease in your digestive system, inflammatory bowel disease is been really beneficial for. It's really beneficial for asthma, which is interesting considering, what's got, the other things that it's useful for in terms of flu, colds, COVID. Very beneficial for asthma. So they're recommending, I've read in a few different places now, sources, that your levels should be up between 60 and 80 nanograms per millilitres. Again, talk to your GP and see what this, but they're saying the minimum, which is now recognised globally, is minimum is 40, but that's actually bare minimum. Once you're getting those up to sort of like the 70 mark, they're saying that's where it becomes, the really cancer fighting useful levels. So tip number 2 is vitamin D. Get your vitamin D levels tested. If you wanted in a blood test, go and speak to local herbalists. There's a good one in Bank Street, Moores. So basically find out and research more about your vitamin D. My tip number 3 is laughing yoga or laughter. So laughing boosts your immune system. That's what we're all about. So what happens is your diaphragm starts to flutter really quick when you're laughing lots and lots and lots. And this causes this negative pressure within the lymphatic system. Now, your lymphatic system is it doesn't have a pump of its own like the blood circulation does. Your lymphatic system relies on either this contraction and release of muscles or this diaphragmatic pressure that's pushing. So as your diaphragm's fluttering with all your laughing, it creates this negative pressure in the thoracic duct. And then the lymph pressure then is pushing to find somewhere where there's less pressure, which is out into the lymph vessels, and you get sort of 10 to 15 times more pressure into there. So it really is. And your lymphatic system, if you don't know, is part of your detoxification. So it helps to detox and clear out everything it doesn't need. But what it also is doing is carrying T cells. T cells tend to be known in layman's terms as sort of like your fighter cells. So it is, again, that's why it's called your immune system. So you get an increase of like T cells and lymphocytes going through into your system. So other things that laughter does, it lowers your blood pressure, it improves your cardiac health. It also releases DHEA, which is a natural steroid that's produced in your adrenal glands. And what this does is your DHEA drops often as you get older. So by keeping what they've seen is that this is an anti-aging, really good anti-aging thing. It's also an anti-cancer fighting thing. It's what else have we got? Anti-obesity. Really, really good to keep your DHEA levels up there. Where were we on? So lowers blood pressure, good for your cardiac, really good abs workout. So we use it a lot. Those of you see, we use it a lot in our classes. Never take things too seriously. Using a lot of laughter, particularly in the dance, we have whole sequences. We are actually bringing in some Jo. Many of you may have seen the certificate she got up that she did in lockdown. Is now qualified as a laughter yoga teacher. So she'll be bringing that with you soon. So it's also really good for connection. As you can imagine, it develops that whole sense of friendship and that social bonding that comes with feeling safe as well. So brilliant for your immune system. So those are my 3 tips. So balancing your number 1 was getting that sunlight, getting your rhythms, your cycles and rhythms back in with sunlight, daylight, sleeping patterns, and get yourself a sunlight alarm clock. Number 2 was vitamin D. If you can, get your vitamin D levels tested with your GP. Highly recommend researching, find out your levels, take your vitamin D supplements. And number 3 is go and find yourself laughing. Laughing is a funny thing, isn't it? Laughing, but those of you done it in class and you just start that good, just start your laughing and just begin it and start you know, getting together in times of, as you know, when there's times when there's great amount of stress, and which there is at the moment, and that pressure, and sort of, it can be just such a huge sort of like relief to let all that go in terms of what it stimulates in your hormones and stuff. So have a lovely day, and if you've got any questions, please just message me, put it on the bottoms of the links, and I'll put some links to you, and have a lovely day. Thank you very much.